Change of plans. I can't stand that dash. I ripped it out. So going over here, got the dash on the chopping block here. I'm gonna cut it off kind of right along here so that it's got the factory part to bolt in here and then allow like a dash pad to go on it. And I'm just gonna cut the bottom section right off. The problem with it was just with around the steering column and everything, there's just too much stuff to try and make work, and trying to make it work to this was just janky. And this here just looked amateurish with the switches and just not what I want. So I'm gonna cut it off and just try and build something custom. So I'll chop this, we'll get her in the truck and come up with an idea. Chopped it. Ended up just leaving a bit of a lip on here to give it a little more strength wherever I could. So I'll take this, plunk her in here. There we have it. Got her fastened. Now we got kind of just an open, do whatever we want here with a nice lip that we can put some rib nuts on. So going to cut this section out, and I'm no good at drawing anything, but kind of do something. Don't judge by the crappy drawing. I have a hard time like drawing something on paper that looks anything decent. I always just seem to have to be working with something and try and make something out of nothing. Otherwise, I don't know, my imagination never works trying to draw something out. But I'm gonna cut this out here, so the dash will just have two separate pieces. And then my plan is to kind of make like a cowl. I don't need this speaker vent. I wanted to save the defrosters so I can do factory defrost vents without having to do anything custom. But if I can cut this out here, then I can build kind of a cowl, if you want to say, that's raised up, and it'll come out, and that'll start my center console and like the head unit. Pull this back out, get this cut. So we got this little bracket. He's just kind of tabbed on here or tacked on, and it's going to set the distance out for how far I want that center section to come out. And I'm thinking this unit here will mount on top in here. Then I'll put the climate control below that. And then on top of here, I want to put 3 gauges that are going to go along here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out a piece of tubing that's going to come down. It needs to extend 3 inches down here to wrap around under the climate control, 3 inches higher for the dash, for the panel that's going to be for the gauges. And then I'll measure what this distance will be, and then I'll just add 6 to it. And then I'll be able to kind of, I don't want it to be flat and look ugly, so I'm gonna kind of bend it, but we'll see. So first I'll measure out what I need to be for the extra 6 inches, and then make my profile how I want it to be, and we'll take it from there. So I got my tube here that I cut it a little longer just in case, so that'll kind of mount like that. And then where I got those lines, I was gonna put a bend in it. I'm just worried if I make it straight, it's gonna be ugly. I think what I'm gonna do is a bit of a change of plan. I'm gonna add a little bit of a kick on the sides here to kind of go around, just to bring it in a little bit here. And then it'll be straight here. And when it goes up here, I'm gonna kick it in just a hair. So my plan now is I'm gonna actually go build it on the table flat, how I want it, and then notch it to put the little bends in. I think it'll be easier to bend it as one piece instead of trying to make 2 matching ones of these and then weld it all together and not have it all janky and stuff like that. So I cut a little sliver pizza pie out of that thing, pie cut out of there, just to bend it a bit. I'm gonna, on that other black line, I'm gonna give it a little one there, so it'll give it kind of a concave bend. Well, that's the finished one tube. You can kind of see when you go like this, it's got dual compound bends in it. And I left as many, like 3 of them with just tack so I can break it loose, because it's easy to build one, and to make 2 match is a little harder. So I'll make 1 more of these opposite now, and then tidy them up and see if we can make something. Well, I got this one nibbled out. A little, oops, here. One-handed, take this down a bit more. Give that a little bend. Doesn't need a lot. Okay. So I marked them bottom. There we go. So that's going the same. I got the little kick in to match here. I got one more bend to cut there to give it the kick up this way. Those ones are the same and they're all cut and done. So I'll do, I'll tack it here and then I'll give it the secondary cut to give it the extra little fin there. So don't judge my long piece here. The idea here is this is gonna be a real pain to probably square and level. So I'll trim these off. Once it's done, the sides are gonna get sheet metaled, so we don't gotta worry about the open hole. So what I did was I measured up on the sides, marked here and here on both sides to set the depth, and then marked out the center to try and square it the best I can. So I got this end tacked, I'll flip it around, tack a piece on the top, and then try and square it the best I can. Okay. Well, we got her all tacked and squared up the best we could get it. Sweet, there we go. So we got that kind of fitted up. Well, that turned into a fail. I don't know what I was thinking, how I made that so huge at the top. It was only supposed to be up an inch or two. Looks kind of ridiculous. You get the idea of kind of the layout of it. So I think what I'll do is figure out the max height that'll go in that one, then the radio will go in next, and then these 3 gauges. But I think what I'll do is I'm going to figure out the height of the radio and then shrink this right down just to hold the 3 gauges and then lower that right down on top of it. There we go. We got it. I shrunk it down a little bit and then spun it. I ended up cutting it off and spinning it around so it gives it more of a concave. Let's see. Can you see? Maybe see this way better. More of a concave. There we go. So with that like that, now I'm just building a piece of sheet to kind of make this little cowl here. So I kind of got it laid out how I want it. Didn't bend it on the line. I missed. So I gotta smarten up a little bit and bend it a little better on this side. So I'll go put that in the brake there, bend the other side, trim it down, and we'll see how she looks. I got this to fit in there now. So just gonna kind of line this up a bit here, get it squared up, and then mark out to do its final trim. I'll give you an idea a bit better here. Trim this up now so you can tell. Well, it's hard to kind of see in the video, I guess, but it's 12 inches here, 10.5 inches there, so it gives it a little extra profile. Well, that's tacked up. It's coming along. So the idea now would be, I'm gonna build this basically sheeted in roughly. I think that's gonna be my plan anyways. So that this unit's gonna stay with the dash and the cab. And I wanna build some bracketry where I can put in panels now, the filler panels for each section here. So these are removable so you can still service everything in the dash. That's gonna be my plan of attack. Back in the shop, and my wife came out, looked at this thing, and she goes, that's no good. Someone's gonna smash their face on that. And you know what? She's right. Now I hate it. So, gonna cut it off there and try again. Okay, let's see. So, I'm gonna zip cut the tack welds, try and move it up, and flushing it right in here. We'll see. Well, we notched her out. Got her cut off there. Oh. And it actually fits in there not terrible. So, I'm gonna measure out how far out it needs to be. Notch these guys to go around the bar, drop it down, and it should be actually pretty close to fitting right in on top of that. Okay, do a little trimmy. Oh, it didn't quite go as I wanted it to. Looks kind of crappy, but it'll have to do. So I think now that I got this fitted half decent, before I weld it all in, I should maybe build this panel plate while it's out. Be easier to do that now. I'll weld this first, grind it, then trim a piece of aluminum to fit in here. Just chopped the chunk out of there, put a couple bends in it. Here just a little bit, got it kind of profiled right. So now I'm just gonna slowly mark it out and nibble it down to fit in there. I did make a template, but I chickened out on trying to cut it exact, because every time I ever cut something out of a cardboard template, it seems that's that size. It never fits proper. So I'm gonna take my time here and nibble this guy down, try and get it to fit in there nice. So we got this trimmed down to fit. I'll get it drilled for some riv nuts. I think if I just put 4 fasteners on this panel, it'll be enough. Oh, I might want to flex. I can put a backing on the back of this to keep it from flexing too, I guess. But I'll get the riv nuts done, get it fastened, and then start figuring out the cutouts for everything. There we go. We got that kind of fastened down. So I think I'll cut the patterns next, and at the end I'll do the riv nuts. That's what we'll do. Okay, we'll trace out here, do the, what should I do first? Let's do the heater control first. Okay, we got a rough layout here for the center lines and our offset. So we'll pull this panel out, finish marking out, cut the hole. So that's in. This is just temporary again. These holes aren't the same, so I had this flipped upside down to drill. And this hole, as you can see, is lower than what I needed. And this side is higher, so when I had it upside down in there, or when I lined the holes up, I was off a hole. So that's annoying. I'll have to take that up and clean that. But anyways, but that's good enough for now. I'll move on. We'll figure out the head unit. Have this kind of laid in here. Now there's a lip here. I think what I'll do is just zip this lip to get this to sit flat in there, like just on the plastic lip. So I got that centered where I want it, laid out on here. I'll take the zip cut that square out, and then see how she fits. Making progress. So what I did here on this little guy is I nibbled off the shoulder so that it sits down just the thickness of this lip. And that, when the riv nut's in there, it sticks up a little bit, so it should be about flush. Now, what do I gotta do? Put the brackets on. I'll put the brackets on, and then come up with a little bracket down here to fasten this to, and that'll hold the head unit in, and then we'll reassemble. We got that fitting real cool, real nice. That trimmed. So here's how it's looking on the back side. So I'm going to do there is just put a little tab, a little flat running up to attach the bracket to bolt it on. So I had the clearance in here, hard to see. Let's see, can you see now? I had to cut that little piece out, the clearance thing. So I had this, I was able to cut down to make a little bracket. I'll take these guys out. And it just clicks in with the little wire to retain it. It makes a nice little bracket. So I'll put a bolt on there, weld that on there, and that'll support this. And we'll be able to go install it in the truck. Actually, no, we're gonna do the gauges next. So I'll get these guys on there, bolt that in, secure it, and then we'll do the gauges. 1 minute. Got those lined out, 2-inch hole saw. We'll drill those puppies out. Sweet, got those drilled out. I'll put this back together. And these guys here, now these are just some random ones I had. I've got a few different styles, but I'll just put these ones in for now. There, that'll do. Okay. Let's go see. Oh, she's got some weight to her now. There we go. Looks pretty good. If I let go of it, it'll drop on the ground. So I'll have to tack it in there. After that, we could start building the rest of the dash. That's a lot better. Farther in, and you could build a dash pad up to it. So yeah, I like that. I guess that'll do it for this one. Well, next round we'll start building a bezel to go around our gauge cluster and put in some AC vents for the driver's side. And we can start on passenger side after that. Oh, holy smokes. Well, dent these, put some dents in them. I think we're all right. Jeez, the thing's got some weight to her, so. We will get that tacked on, and we'll see you on the next one.